Welcome to Technology with Mike. This show is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, it's here. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook at audiblepodcast.com/techwithmike. Over 70,000 titles to choose from for your iPod or MP3 player. Visit audiblepodcast.com/techwithmike for your free book today. And now for your host, Mike Tartaglia. Hello. It's time for Technology with Mike. I'm Mike Tartaglia, and welcome to the show. I'm here to make technology and the internet easier to understand. This is show number 64 for Sunday, May 2nd, 2010. May already. Wow. Anyway, so thank you for downloading and listening to the podcast each and every week. I really do appreciate it. It's always good to see the stats of people downloading the show. They keep on going up every week, so I'm happy about that. You can contact me directly at email techwithmike@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/techwithmike. And we can also visit our new Facebook fan page at facebook.com/techwithmike. Of course, everything I try to do everything with Tech with Mike in it. You can subscribe to the show via iTunes and the Zune Marketplace. And you can see past shows by going to our video site at techwithmike.mevio.com. Before we get started, I got one thing I wanted to mention is I didn't get my iPad this week. I expected it. I wanted to get a review up for everybody, and I wanted to actually do an open box of it, but it's getting a little late. I think my review will probably be a little too late for everybody. But you know what? I'm still going to get it. I'm still going to review it because I promised everyone. And if I can get my hands on a 16 or a 32 gig version, I will do that. I don't plan on buying the 3G version because to me, it's just a waste of money. But I will get it, and I will review it for everybody. Before we get going on our guest today, I wanted to talk about our sponsor, Audible.com. They are the leading provider of downloadable digital audiobooks and spoken word entertainment. They have over 70,000 titles now. I think it's actually getting up there, 75,000 titles. You can download books, thrillers, business books, self-help books, like I said, mysteries, everything that you can think of. Any type of book you can get in a library, you probably can find on Audible.com. I just got finished listening to the book by David Allen. We talked about it last show, the Getting Things Done book. And I haven't started my next book yet, but I think it's going to be one of the thrillers that I have downloaded. It is called, if I had my iPhone open, I would have had this ready for you all. But hold on. I got it. I want to mention the book. It is called. Oh, actually, no. It was. I forget what it is now. Oh no, the Success Principles by Jack Canfield and Janet Swift. It looks like, and it's playing right now. So. See? The Success Principles. There we go. How to get where you are. I didn't mean to play it. So it seems like a really good book on being successful and stuff. So check it out. It could be your free book if you go to audiblepodcast.com/techwithmike. Okay, so now I want to introduce a very special guest. His name is Tony Wright, the CEO and founder of RescueTime.com. Hi, Tony. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad we could get you on the show. We almost had some video problems at the beginning, but we figured it out. And so everybody knows it wasn't a Windows problem. Sorry, Tony. I'm a Windows fan. I like Apple, but I'm not into the Macs yet. But I do plan on picking up a Mac soon, so I can get on the same page as everybody. So RescueTime. What does RescueTime do?
It's a tool, we originally launched it as a tool to help people sort of understand how they spend their time and attention. So what it started out doing was literally just sitting in the background and watching how you spend your time on your computer and what's in focus. So basically what window is on top of your stack. And if it's a web browser, what website is on top of your stack, basically what tab is in focus. And we've kind of evolved into a tool that not only sort of tells you about how you spend your time, but helps you give yourself some nudges and and cues to sort of spend it more productively.
Well, when you say it sits somewhere, where's it sitting? It's a software package you install on your computer, right?
Right, yeah, it's an installable application. So it literally is, and this is something that scared us in the beginning, an old school, double click exe, it installs on your computer. It sits for Windows and Mac, sits in your system tray and sort of sits in the background just paying attention. And of course, you can pause it at any time and you can quit it at any time. But yeah, so it is an actual application.
Okay. Okay, so it sits in your system tray, and I actually installed it on a computer a laptop that I use, and we'll go look at it later on the website, the actual data. But so it runs in the computer background. People must get really freaked out about that when they first hear it. And I actually looked at it and I installed it on my computer, and so it sits in it, watches what you do. One thing comes to mind is keyloggers.
Yeah. Yeah, we do, and it's important to note what we watch and what we don't. So literally, the only thing that sort of gets aggregated and gets collected is the window name, the application name, the start time, the end time, those kind of things. We don't scrape anything on your screen. We aren't logging what you type in. We aren't sucking down any text. So it is literally just what's on top. And we also have quite a few, obviously privacy is a concern. We do have some privacy, tools where people can set up white lists of things that they do want to track and everything else isn't tracked. So there's a couple different things you can do there.
So if I was going to some naughty sites, I can say, don't show those.
That is a use case that we considered. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of times you have these, here are the 5 really distracting sites in my life. Here are the 5 really productive sites in my life. That's the only data that I care about. So we'll still tell you spent another hour and a half in Firefox or Internet Explorer or what have you, but we won't tell you the sort of details of those sites, and we don't even collect them. So it can be pretty safe.
So the information you do collect, though, now that since we're talking a little bit about privacy, how is the privacy of the members kept in regards to the information you do collect, and what do you do anything else with the information that you collect other than the reports that you can get?
Yeah, so I mean, the thing we do with the data, obviously, is we give it back to the users in sort of, hopefully easy to digest form where you can see how you spend your time on, in a day, in a week, in a month. We don't do anything with the data beyond that, other than sometimes we will talk about the data in aggregate, basically. So we collect at this point, in the hundreds of thousands of man hours of data per day. So there's obviously some really interesting data in there. We're about to release a report on the differences between gender, basically how men and women use their computer and how different it is. And it's pretty astounding what we learned. I mean, pretty breathtaking, honestly. But yeah, so we will talk about stuff in aggregate. We have and you can look at our privacy policy. We have a pretty, very sort of comprehensive privacy policy saying we aren't going to sell your data to anybody, with or without your identity. AOL had a recent flap a couple years back where they sold some anonymized search data, but data like that and data like this, I mean, it's very easy to reverse engineer an identity. So we won't sell individual data like that.
Well, that's always good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to do this, and obviously one of the things that's pretty common, question for us is the sort of, well, is this, in a business setting, does this get evil spy on your, guy kind of software? And we don't want to be that business. We want to be a business that sort of helps people and is wearing a white hat rather than a black hat.
Well, that's pretty neat. So, do you primarily have business customers or individuals like myself?
It's funny. We set out thinking, well, the market here is a business market. Clearly businesses care about productivity. What we learned is that they do, but where almost all of our growth has been, and I would say probably 95% of our paying customers are individuals. We also have a free version, so we obviously have a considerable number of free customers. But it really is very sort of individual focused, which is great for us because that does, it's a lot easier to serve that audience because the business audience it's challenging to do it in a way that keeps managers from being evil, which is something we really feel pretty passionately about.
Well, now that you say managers being evil in that respect, could companies use this to spy on their employees?
It would be pretty hard. So one thing, RescueTime isn't, inherently stealthy and can't be made so. So you can't put it on someone's computer and have them not be aware of it.
Okay.
So that's one thing, and there's actually some pretty good studies on we believe that businesses should have this data, right? I mean, businesses track where every dollar goes in their business, but they don't track the much scarcer resource that they have at their disposal, and that's the time and attention of their team. So we believe that data should be out there, and that transparency is a powerful and positive thing. But obviously, in the wrong hands, that data can be misused. So we want, it's very important for employees to have the ability to A, see their own data, B, see how they fit in the context of their team, and C, pause, or stop the tracking process if they want to, right? If they want to take an hour-long lunch and surf shopping sites, they should be able to do that. I mean, they can't obviously fill in fake data and basically say, oh, actually, I was in Excel for 8 hours today. You can't add data. But
see, I was working. I swear.
Yeah, the data proves it. So you can literally pause the tracking process. Employees can also actually delete records. So if you accidentally at work went to monster.com, you're like, oh my God, my boss is going to think I'm looking for a job. You could go back into the data and delete that monster.com data for that day. Now you couldn't fill it in with something else.
Yeah.
So there'd be a little hole there in your data, and you do that enough, and you start having big holes in your data.
Yeah.
But it's critical for the data to be in the hands of the employees. I mean, we're just not willing to do it otherwise.
Well, the fact that RescueTime stores all the data in the cloud, that means like you guys have a better knowledge of what people are doing on the internet more than anybody. I mean, you probably know more of what I do now than I actually realize. So, what's the most funniest or surprising thing that you found out that people are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one of the stats in this gender article that's going to be coming out. One of the things that we learned is that within our system, you can rate tasks as sort of productive or unproductive, and we have default settings for that. What we found is that people spend about 50% of their computer time in productive ways. So literally half of people's time on the computer is self-identified unproductive stuff. Facebook shopping, what have you, right? So that was kind of scary. A real big one for me was switches. And this is something we don't expose in RescueTime, but the number of times you move from one thing to another thing in a given day is pretty breathtaking. I found with literally just instant message alone, before I changed my IM habits pretty dramatically, I was shifting to an IM window about 100 times a day. And when you laugh, the average is 77. If you're an IM user, the average number of times you're shifting to an IM window is 77 times. And, those shifts can be little 1 second like glance at a URL or what have you. So a lot of those shifts are very small, but it shows, this is the real sort of erosion of focus that we as a society I think are enduring right now, is that, people are using, and this is, again, RescueTime data, using 10 to 12 different applications per day and 44 unique websites per day. And that's not web pages, that's websites. So that's literally 50 to 60 different entities, things that you're interacting with in a given day, which is like maybe 6 hours on your computer. We can't focus. That's it's killing us.
So I'm gonna look at the website right now, because I have my site open, my login with techwithmike@gmail.com log on, and I'm seeing things in here that I'm using, and this is actually the computer the data you see here is the computer I use for work, so you can tell if I'm actually working or not. How's that? I do system administration, so if I'm looking at it right now, it says MS Terminal Services. That's me RDPing, connecting to a machine remotely, and that's most of the things I do there. So that's up at, that's above 5 hours of all activity. I think it was last week. I don't know, what does that mean? All activity, only 5 hours that week I've done it. Let's see what it says. It says one user averaging 5 hours, 58 minutes per week. Oh.
Yeah, and you should see a total up top. What is it? What does the total say? Where it says the
22. 22 hours.
Right. So 22 hours total RescueTime time logged, and then that would be the
wow.
Yeah, how much? And it's always that's always the realization is at the beginning of this I was more a designer than anything else, and I was like, well, I spend my time in a code editor and Photoshop.
Yeah.
And it turns out that I spend maybe half my time in a really productive week in the tools that are core to my job.
Yeah.
And it's pretty breathtaking, right? Because you fancy yourself, I'm a system administrator. Here are the sysadmin tools I use.
Yeah.
It turns out you're a lot more than a system administrator.
Well, I would think that I'm looking at the Google one. I use Google all the time, but it says I only did it for 12 minutes. So it seems like
Yeah, Google's one of those things that I mean, the average time of engagement with a Google search is actually really short, right? I mean, so in terms of number of visits, I would imagine Google is extremely high. In terms of actually time logged, I mean, you don't sit and pore over search results pages. You generally click, result 1, 2, or 3 within 10 seconds, right?
oh yeah,
And
yeah,
Google's obviously optimizing for making that
that's a
as
good
swift
point.
an experience as possible.
That's a good point. So I'm looking at the productivity tab. This is the list of all the different things. The productivity heading, I guess you want to call it.
Right.
And it's stuff. This one that says I'm doing terminal services client for the connections to the servers I'm on. It says I'm very productive.
Right.
It's set for 2, so you can actually bring that up and down. What's the purpose of doing that?
Well, I mean, we wanted to give people kind of a literally just a number of how productive was I today versus yesterday. Obviously, because you're using so many things, it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
So each application or website can have a score between -2 and +2, and that allows us to sort of derive an efficiency score, and you can compare how much time you spent on productive stuff this week or this month versus last week or last month. So the hope is to give you a little bit more sort of comparative data and to and also comparative against other people. We do have people who are fairly competitive with this stuff.
Well, this is actually cool. It really just shows you how I mean, we're not showing on the video right now, but it just shows you what you're doing all day. I mean, it's cool if I want to see this, but I don't want anybody getting a hold of this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty. We the guys, my co-founders are all guys who've been in very sensitive kind of software as a service situations before, and security is a huge priority for us. But at the end of the day, I think, I mean, Mike, you're in my generation is probably more sensitive to privacy than the younger generations.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention any ages, but yeah, I mean, people's email is in the cloud, right? If someone got a hold of your email, what is the cost of that? I mean, how many sensitive things have you mentioned in your email?
Facebook alone.
Yeah, Facebook too, and obviously, so I think more and more, stuff is going to be in the cloud because there are some huge, business benefits and user benefits for that, and users, and heck, there's I forget which city it is, but there's a city that put basically video cameras up on every corner because now data storage and collection is so cheap that you can do things like that.
Yeah.
And I think pretty soon there's just going to be so much data about everyone just because it's easy enough to do, and there's value to be had, by doing it.
Okay, so that's the bottom line here. You mentioned that there's a free version, but how much? What are the different versions that you have? I mean, you have a premium service, I'm assuming, right? Hello, are you still there? Something happened here. Hold on. Can you still hear me, Tony? What happened? Just keep it going. Let me see if we can get him back. Can you hear me, Tony? I mean, his video's still there. Okay, we just lost him. Hold on a second. Try to get him back. No, don't worry. Where is it? Forgot the question. Okay.
That's better.
Okay, I think we got you back now.
Sorry about that.
I don't know what happened. I saw someone connected on Skype, but then all of a sudden I couldn't hear you. So what was the last thing you heard?
Gosh, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I just jumped immediately into what the heck is going on. My connection was alive.
Well, the last question I was asking was, you guys have a free version. You mentioned that earlier, but what about what kind of costs are there involved for the premium version, I guess you're going to call it?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the free version is obviously free. The paid version for individuals is, $9-ish a month. If you do an annual subscription, it actually breaks down to about $6 a month. And the difference really is just amount of data that we allow you to sort of look at. With the free version, you can only look as far as 3 months back, which is obviously usually plenty. And then a lot of these sort of tools that we've introduced that can help you actually be more productive rather than just understand how productive you are.
Okay.
So you can set up alerts, for example, of if I spend more than an hour a day in social networking stuff, alert me, stop me, right? We also have some blocking functionality where you can literally say, block me from everything that is scored -2, basically really unproductive. Block me from that for 30 minutes.
Huh.
Don't let me go to that. So a lot of these kind of self-discipline tools. So that's really the line between sort of, the free and the paid version.
Well, that's interesting. So you can actually tell it to block anything whenever you're going to your personal Gmail account.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I mean, obviously, everyone has different things that they consider distracting. For me, it's Twitter is probably one of the painful ones.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, you can't block it on my iPhone.
Yeah. No, that is true. We were looking at the iPhone OS, new version of the OS, hoping that they would allow us to have RescueTime for the iPhone, but
that would be
but
nice.
Apple is still keeping that pretty tight.
Yeah. What about the iPad?
iPad, same thing. I mean,
Same
it's the
thing?
same OS, so it's just they're very, very careful about what background applications they allow people to run. So it's just non-feasible right now. But we're certainly keeping an eye on it.
Do you have any other mobile platforms that you can do it on, or?
None, there aren't many that make sense. It's such a fractured market. I think as we, BlackBerry and Android both look interesting. I mean, BlackBerry would be the big obvious one in terms of market share. Even though iPhone gets all the press, BlackBerry still has 40% of the smartphone market share. So, that would be the first one we take a whack at. But nothing in the cards in the near term future.
Yeah. What I would vision for, and this is just my opinion. I don't know what you guys are doing behind the scenes there. But I would envision some sort of an application that would actually just let me see my data, just like I could see on this web page.
Right. Yeah. That'd be something we could certainly do, is make it, make a mobile sort of, I'm a little iffy on whether people would want that data or need that data on the go, right? Like, I mean, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But, obviously with a small team like ours, we really, have to be careful to do things that are going to move the needle for a lot of customers.
Well, how many people do you have on your team?
We're a 6-person team right now.
Oh, wow. Cool. I'm a 2-person team here. Me and my brother. Okay. So, and one last question. What's the most important thing that people can do to be more productive besides using RescueTime?
Yeah, that's you mentioned David Allen, and I think there's this huge rash of people who are sort of teaching productivity disciplines right now because this is such a sweeping problem for everybody. But the number one sort of time sink in the world, in our database, bar none, far and away, is email and communication in general.
Yeah.
So I think the number one thing is literally, keep your email client closed as much as you can in a day. Either sort of schedule a time. Here's my email hour in the morning and my email hour in the afternoon, and that's it. I think that's huge. Turning off all notifications. I mentioned IM earlier and what a attention suck that is. Set your IM client so it doesn't pop up a window when someone initiates a chat with you, right? Because if you have 40 people on your friends list, the chance of any one of them being bored and saying, "Hey, I'm going to drop Mike and IM and see what he's up to this weekend," or whatever, that's interruptive, right? I mean, we there's so many ways to interrupt ourselves, and we need to start taking those away so we can focus.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Okay, well, I'm so excited that you were on the show. Thank you very much. If you want to stick around for after the show, we can quickly chat a little bit. But again, thank you for joining me on this Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, man, take care.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really fun. So Tony Wright of RescueTime.com. Go there, check it out. There is a free version, so let's go see if how productive you're being out there. Until next week, we do have a guest on from a software called Pollux. We'll be talking to them next week on how their software can help you rearrange your iTunes library. Until then, help you later.